upstairs.
Yeah, cool.
Eventually,
It's cool, but can we afford it?
eventually it's gonna happen, but it's
Everything's
not
cool.
when.
Everything is cool.
Totally.
So,
But we started out building a sewer pond, and now we're gonna put in a big fabulous building.
Well,
with
that
living
was-
quarters upstairs.
this is not,
No,
this is not the fire, or the treatment plant.
That's here.
This is here.
This is here, I know,
Yeah.
I know,
Yeah.
I know.
But that's
But
when if the
consider,
CSD was
consider
here.
our building a sewer pond and adding a building one day when we can afford it and continue doing business as we are. That's another option, and we're saving $1 million.
Well, $1 million today, if you come back 10 years from now and build this building, it might be $5 million. Or it might be $500,000, you never know. So,
I
basically.
don't wanna be a bummer, but this community can't afford the best of everything. We
Well,
can't.
we're not asking for the best of anything. We're asking for what's gonna last this community for the next 30 years.
All right.
So, the reasoning for asking to move the offices to the treatment plant is because that is one of the least expensive options to mitigate our office space issue. Right now, we have 3 different people sharing an office, and it is becoming increasingly difficult with the workload that we're all sharing.
Yeah.
So, we need to do something to mitigate our office space. The one alternative that we have that's right there that we can get additional funding to help pay for is building onto the building that we're already gonna have to build for the treatment plant. We have no way around building a building for the treatment plant that doesn't involve having locker rooms, bathrooms, office space, a lab, and shop space. We're basically, the only thing we could do is if we don't wanna have any office space down there for the rest of the offices, we could cut back on some of the parking, but we're still gonna have to have parking. We can move the office to a different, or the building to a different location, but we're still gonna have to do earthwork to get it there. What we're looking at for the treatment plant is not the best of the best at any means. What we're looking for is, going back 3 slides. What we're looking at is what is gonna be the best for the district, the best cost value for the district going forward. This treatment plant needs to last us for at least 30 years. So, all these blue buildings right here, those are all buildings we already have. So instead of saying, oh, well, we just need a new building, now let's reuse the buildings we have. Let's reuse this building, reuse that with the cover. These are 2 covers. Reuse this building, reuse those, reuse some of our other covers to cover some of the equipment instead of buying new covers. This doesn't need to be San Luis City's treatment plant. This needs to be San Miguel's treatment plant that's gonna meet our obligations under the state law, under the state requirements, federal requirements, but also something that we're not gonna end up with $200 wastewater bills. Some of this can be phased in, some of it can't. Like I was saying, these red pieces really need to be built at the same time, because none of this is gonna run without that. This is a power building. Nothing here is gonna run without the power. You can't build this and not build that. You can't build this and not build any of that. So, like you can see in this picture of the, I'm not getting all the tape off here, by the way.
You got really good tape.
I just found that in the closet.
It's been there a while.
So, if you're looking at the building is just a metal building. That's about as cheap as it's gonna get. But it's also gonna last us probably the longest.
Hey, Kelly, being that it's a wastewater treatment facility that is not built to essential needs standards, correct?
Yeah,
It's just a
it's standard construction.
Standard construction, type 5 construction.
So, the cost to build this building, per square foot, is gonna be a hell of a lot less than building a building next door. It's only 1 story, so again, you're reducing your costs. Because we have space, that's why it's a bigger footprint. But we could always go up, but the neighbors aren't gonna like staring at a 2-story building next to them. But basically what we're looking at is trying to do the most for the least cost. And right now, we're talking about moving offices down there. like I said before, it could be a long-term thing, it could be a temporary thing. The amount of space we're asking for, basically in 10 years, we may be at the point where we have 4 more people, and that's not enough space, and we need an actual office space anyway. I don't think that's gonna happen, I can't really see that, but it's a possibility. This town is growing way faster than I'd ever anticipated. And so you can't really count anything out. Had somebody in here yesterday?
It was yesterday.
Yeah. It's all
Well, it is
part of
right
the
now. Yesterday, wanting to turn a 44 unit project into a 200 unit project.
Oh,
So,
Oh, that would be,
Oh,
off of
yeah.
Cemetery Road, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
We were with them on
Director
the ninth.
Collins, to voice what we talked about earlier, I just looked it up, and you are correct. The consensus of the board was to have a proposal brought back and address the existing fire department issues and structure and the wastewater facility. The board would like to see a cost option of each. The board of directors asked for a special meeting or workshop with these items. District General Counsel cyclically voiced that the public workshop would be the most appropriate way to discuss this building. Because this building has,
Numerous problems.
so basically,
I think it'll be fixed.
whether we move the district offices down to the treatment plant or not, we're still gonna end up with a win. And I really don't wanna beat a dead horse, but we're gonna end up with it one way or the other. We have some people that are really upset at the whole situation with why we're building a treatment plant in the first place, and other people don't, or don't have to. And I agree, there's not a fair hand in the state's eyes as far as who has to do things and who doesn't. People who try to do a good job and try to stay on the straight and narrow are the ones that get punished usually by having to do all the requirements that everybody should have to do but aren't doing. If you guys would like to take on the state and fight them over it, then we can do that. But I can guarantee building a treatment plant is going to be cheaper. So, you know, we don't really need anything today. If you guys would like to have a workshop to discuss further options, we can definitely do that. In discussion with Rob and Scott about about the fire station, it's really hard to nail down exactly what would happen here without knowing what's going to happen.
and a workshop is not a public record or a public meeting.
It's a public meeting.
A workshop would not be a public meeting. That's
I'm
why,
sorry?
a workshop would not be a public meeting. That's why we,
No, we would, what do you mean not a public meeting?
well, that's what I was just reading, a workshop, it'd be a public, like, people could come, but that's why they could discuss this issue of this building and all of its.
You mean we wouldn't have to allow participation from the public? They would-
Well, it's a workshop, I wouldn't think that, what's a better way to word it, Elaine?
So it would still be a publicly noticed meeting where we would still allow public participation because we're assembling a quorum of the board. But it would just, you guys would just be able to figure out how you want to, how to keep the procedures where you can give people longer time to talk as opposed to what we do at the board meeting. So you can say each person has 5 minutes to speak as opposed to 3. So you guys can mess with the format, but we still have to make it a publicly noticed meeting.
Yeah, but remember, there's some legal issues here in the building that Doug doesn't, he was all, let's not talk about that in a public.
You're absolutely.
I thought it was more of further exploring the options of.
Oh, yeah, she
what-
wasn't here.
Wasn't here,
Oh, yeah,
Doug.
I don't think you were here it was
Doug
Doug.
was in the room.
YouTube.
We had passed the baton.
Yeah,
Yeah, Doug was in the room that day.
yeah, he was actually here. And just
So,
this wall.
Yeah.
That
so
was
the reason this keeps coming back is because we are moving forward with the treatment plant.
Yes.
We are moving forward with the overall concept, and we're getting extremely close to going and begging for money from anybody and everybody that'll allow us to talk to them. If this is not something that the board is interested in having or interested in pursuing any farther, then it needs to be removed from the plan and gone forward without it. If it's something that you guys are interested in at least pursuing, again, you're not buying it today, so we just need to move forward with a plan that's relatively accurate to what we're trying to accomplish. So,
Comment, the steel buildings, metal buildings, are they expandable?
as much as anything else, I mean, if you wanna build onto it, you can. Whereas like your house, if you wanna build onto any one of the sides, you basically re-roof it, or pull the roof off, build it up, fix the roof. On a steel building, it's easier to make them longer than it is to go different directions, but it's not impossible. Depending on what type of steel building it is, it's fairly easy to expand off of it.
This would be easier to expand this way than it would be that way.
Well, it'd be easier to expand that way,
North and south.
because the roof line goes that way. So the roof is like this,
Right.
so it's easier to build on the end than it is to build against the
Oh,
roof.
yeah.
Oh, yeah, okay, so the hip is in the front.
So the ridge goes north and south.
Right, okay.
Has there
Knock
been-
off the wall, throw
Yeah,
in.
no, I was envisioning it different.
Has the staff ever talked to the new property owner that owns the lots next to us?
I have.
Was there any possibility or feasibility of a 3P style project?
I did not cross that bridge. I was more in the code enforcement mode when I spoke to him, and he was in a different state, I believe Nevada, working on a home improvement project. Very nice man, and community minded. And we could,
The 3P project might be a way to actually build the building here, have him shoulder a massive chunk of it, and keep our costs down while still owning the building. There's a lot of terms, but I've seen other cities starting to use that as a way to finance big office projects.
yeah, but I don't disagree with you at all. I think you're kind of losing focus, though. You need some sort of facility at the wastewater treatment plant just to make it function.
Right.
So
Right, but do we need a?
the question is, are you going to do the additional work now, or do the additional work later?
I don't disagree that there's going to be a building at the treatment plant. I don't
And
disagree.
another part of it is though, even though they have to do the treatment plant, something has to happen here because the CSD's out of room. It's becoming functionally dysfunctional. And
Hey,
So,
Do we need a conference room 3 times the size of this?
well, yeah, if you're gonna build something, don't put a Band-Aid on a problem, fix it right.
Yeah, you won't
There's a
have-
lot of reasons there could be meetings, I don't hold the chief meetings here no more because of the condition of it. There's other meetings in classrooms, it's just, this room is not big enough.
we're actually hosting a class. I'm hosting a class, and we are having the class in Paso Robles because we don't have the facilities to have the class here.
My comment just, if we are gonna build a building, why not just add the office space, use it, and if we did decide to have the building next door, we would just use the office space and work to around while this is happening.
You lost me.
So basically, I think what I'm saying is, if we build the building now, and just use the office space there for offices, administrative offices temporarily, until we figure out what we're doing here.
That would be 30 years.
Well,
That would be 30 years.
it could be 5 years, it could be 10 years, it could be whatever.
No,
If
it
it's
could be
the-
30, how long will it
50.
be? 50 years.
But
If somebody
It-
pops
it gives you
200
more
blocks in,
options.
and then
it
200
gives you
more.
options. If we have someplace to go, then that gives the fire department the room it needs to actually make this a functional fire department.
What's the square footage of the locker room?
I think it's 8 by 10 by 10.
10 by 10? Showers?
Oh, I'm sorry, it's 10 by 12.
There's
There's one shower, one restroom with a shower, 2 locker rooms.
2 locker rooms,
Well, you have to have.
Boys
men
and
women's,
girls.
right?
So,
40 to go. 40 to go.
But
That's
it's,
right.
so everything that we're gonna have to have is in there, whether we have offices in there, other than.
say them.
Is there any other board comments?
Oh, yes, the This building, has there been any thought or discussion of actually even adding onto, well, actually, I'm probably saying kind of construction, but like putting in a fire engine somewhere down at the plant? Because I know that got breached a little bit when we discussed this in May about coverage on that side of the tracks.
Then it turns into essential needs.
If we attach a fire bay.
Even just a house?
It's essential
Well,
needs, it's a type 4 construction building.
So if you wanted to do that, then I would suggest building a separate building as an apparatus building or bay and having it separate.
So you don't have to do the whole building.
There's a plan for a training area down there that will accommodate storage of equipment.
There was public comment.
I just have a comment about, the whole idea of, and I've told Kelly this before, the whole idea of building what's going to happen down there at the sewer pond, which is, in my mind, very extensive. And you have just asked the community to raise their rates for sewer and water. They're not gonna distinguish between whether that's wastewater or whether that's water. It's just their money that now, my gosh, you have way more money than you know what to do with, so you're building a plant. I'm just saying that's the attitude I see coming from the community. And it's time, past time, to start prepping the community for this need, this requirement, because they aren't aware that the state's requiring you to do anything. Not really.
Well, they
And
think we're just doing it
somehow-
because we want to?
Well,
I think the
what
majority
do you
of
think
communities
they're gonna
don't
say?
buy it.
I
You
don't
got
think
the
they
money
care.
now, you can do it, because you took our
Well,
money.
that's why I'm concerned about building this big elaborate office space.
I don't think
People
that's
thinking that
gonna
we're
make,
abusing,
that's not gonna make a difference compared to the size of what's gonna happen down there. And people are going to be upset unless you start prepping them for
I
understanding
don't know
what's
how to do
coming
that.
up.
If they're not gonna come to a meeting, how do you?
Well, just offer it up to them.
Oh, they'll come. They read their notices in their mail, John.
Well, the fact of the matter is, the building's getting
Well,
built
that-
anyway.
Both sides.
There will be a building there no matter what.
Right.
So unless people actually go inside, they're not gonna know that there's 7 additional offices and a conference room. Altogether.
They're just gonna see the
But-
size of the
I
building.
know, but it's gonna be built as part of the plan. If we built the building next door to this and spent $1 million, yeah, people would say,
Mhm.
what the hell's going on?
Right.